Hey y'all, so I have a 2004 Chevy Silverado, two-wheel drive. It's got a 5.3 automatic. Um, so I've had a few issues with it. The gauges mess up. They'll just go nuts and go all over the place, and the lights will flash, and that's just a defect in the gauges, in the gauge cluster itself. The issue I just got through having was the battery light would come on and the info thing on the dash would tell me that my battery wasn't charging. So I did all the basic stuff, tested the battery, tested the alternator. The alternator pulled the battery down, so the battery was testing bad or low. So I charged it for about a day and a half. So yesterday, it finally just out of nowhere starts charging. I had the alternator off, took the housing off the back, messed with it, cleaned it, all that stuff. And it worked for a few hours. I drove it and I got about 45 seconds up the road from my house, and all of a sudden the amp hand dropped and nothing. It wouldn't charge. It started dimming itself. So I charged it for a while last night and kept playing with it, and nothing happened. So today I have to go to work here in a little while, and we needed my truck too. So I was going to just try it one more time, run through the tests, and if it didn't work, then I was going to take it off and take it with us when we left, and I was going to, get another one while we were gone and then put it on when we got back. So I watched some videos. I watched everything I could find about these trucks. There's a lot of issues. Some people say it's security. Some people say it's, that pass lock thing, like I was saying with security. There's draws on batteries on these vehicles, little weird phantom things that suck energy out, and you have to find it. Wiring issues. The wires will get hot and melt because they didn't use the right kind of wires on the truck, so they can't stand the heat. Basically, behind the fuse box on the dash on the driver's side, the wires back there get all hot, and the tape will melt, and the dome override switch goes bad, and the lights will kind of come on and off interior wise, when they want to. You can actually stick your hand in the dash through the fuse box and wiggle the connector for that light switch back there, and it'll make the lights do what they're supposed to do. If they come on and they're supposed to be off, you can wiggle it and it'll go off, and vice versa. So anyway, so today I ran through the tests again. Battery showed it was low. Wasn't charging when I had the truck running. I had a charger hooked up to the battery, and I turned it on low, and I was running the truck at the same time, trying to get the alternator to just maybe kick in. So I watched a video with a guy. I'll actually add his information at the bottom of this. That way, he gets credit for this, because this guy is a freaking genius. And I liked him because he wasn't filtered. He said whatever he thought. So I like that about him. That's why I kind of watched the whole video, and I'm glad I did, because what was actually wrong with mine is something he did at the tail end of it. The last test he did was he took a test lead, and he unplugged the harness off the alternator, and he found the brown wire. There's only actually 3 wires going into it. If you look at the plug, there's 4 slots, but only 3 of them have metal connectors on the inside of them. It's the middle one. I actually didn't have any test leads, so I made one. I took a clothes hanger and cut a little piece of it off, and I have a grinder, so a bench grinder. So I took it and I grinded it down until it was really, really, really thin, and about, really, really, really not wide at all. Barely anything, maybe the size of a bobby pin. And I was going to test it, and what he does is he sticks the lead into that harness on that brown wire, and he unplugs the harness off the alternator, and he sticks it down into the harness, and he cranks the truck with the harness unplugged, and he takes a voltmeter and he puts the ground from the voltmeter onto the ground on the battery, and he actually takes the positive side and hooks to that test lead. And the point of it is to see what the harness is actually sending to the alternator itself, to see if the computer is trying to wake up the alternator to make it charge. And he was getting something a little over 10 amps, I believe, or 10 volts. is what he was getting on his. And he said, you know, if you get this reading, then that means your computer is working. It's not the BCM or the ECM or PCM or whatever you want to call it. It's not the computer. You don't have to worry about that as long as it's spitting out this number. Well, mine was about 2 volts lower. Mine was 8 something. And, you know, it was just weird. So I stuck the lead I made first. I stuck it in the front side of the harness, the side that you actually plug in. I stuck it down that way and it wouldn't work. So I went through where the wire actually goes into the harness and stuck it down in there. And I tried it and it was testing low, like I said. So I said, you know, I'm going to go look and see what it's doing, because I was just, you know, messing with everything one last time. And I walked back around and I watched my amp pan go straight back up to where it's supposed to be. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh, okay, well, the alternator's just giving me one last hurrah before it, you know, rides off into the sunset. So, you know, I watched it for a minute and I let it run and I turned it off and I started it back and it was still good, and I ran it and I turned on everything in the truck, the heater, the radio, the high beam lights. I had the windows going up and down. I was blowing the horn. I mean, I literally did every single thing in this truck you could do power-wise. I had the cargo light on. I did everything to see if it was going to pull the amp pan down, and it didn't budge. I just got back from driving it. I drove it probably 20, 25 miles, something like that. Got it up to high speed. Dogged it a little, I'll be honest. I gunned it on the road, got it, you know, up, got it, you know, slowing down. Traffic, everything. I did everything I could think of. Took it down some rough stuff, and it's still charging just fine. So basically what I think happened is that since the wires go bad on these trucks a lot, I've noticed that the plastic protector that they put around the wire had kind of been broke off of the end where the wires go into the harness on the alternator, and the tape that they put around it on the inside of that insulator was also gone. Well, it'd been raining for about a week and a half straight here. I mean, it came a flood. I mean, it's flooding all over the country right now because of it. But it was pretty bad here for over a week. And I think what happened is over time, and then last week when it come to flood, I think so much moisture got up in my engine bay that it actually got down into that harness and it caused corrosion on the tip of that wire. And maybe the wire was also pulled out a little bit. And when I stuck that test lead down in there, you know, it got connection again. That test lead forced it back down and maybe knocked something off of it or whatever, but it connected it again. And I would imagine that there's a lot of people that's probably taking their vehicles like this. I mean, these Chevys had the issue from 2000 or 2001 all the way up until, you know, 2006, maybe even as far as 10. You know, electrical issues, charging issues, draws on the battery, gauges going nuts, all these issues, you know, was kind of prevalent throughout that whole time period. But I would like to have a number to know how many people took their Chevys to places to be fixed and paid for an alternator and to have it put on, thinking that that's what the problem was. And the whole time, what really fixed it was when the guy unplugged the alternator, he wiggled that wire and it reconnected itself. So when he put the new one on, it worked, and everybody just thought that's what it was the alternator. But in reality, it was that wire just needing to be pressed back in a little bit. So if you have a Chevy truck or Trailblazer or SUV, anything with this type of charging system, not the ones that have the loop on the ground cable that holds it down. If you got one of those, it's different. It doesn't work this way. So this video isn't for you. This is for people that have the Vortec engines and the regular charging systems. If you have an issue with your charging system and it just doesn't seem like it's quite the battery, and it just doesn't have all the symptoms of the alternator being bad, and you just don't really think that it's either one of those, but you don't really know what to do, do what I did. And before you take it somewhere and pay for some expensive job, I'm a mechanic, so that's why I did this. You know, before you go somewhere, like, check it out yourself. I mean, it's not hard to get out and wiggle some wires and, you know, just mess with it and see what it does. you know, just hook a voltmeter up to it. See what it's charging at. Check the harnesses. Check the wires leading into them. Press them in if you can. You know, just check some stuff out before. And if you do take it somewhere that's not going to open up a book and charge you for however many hours the book says. And they're not going to check the vehicle out. They're just going to assume it's the alternator and just stick, you know, parts on it and start throwing money at it until they fix it. You know, don't do that, because I would say 90% of the shops out there, that's exactly what they do. I don't do that. You know, if your job's a pain in the dick, then you're going to get charged for a job that was a pain in the dick. If your job was easy, then you're going to get charged for an easy job. That's how my dad was, and he had a garage for 41 years. Now, you know, that's how I am. So just check it out yourself, and you know, try to, you know, not get ripped off, I guess is the best way to put it. But yeah, I would imagine this video probably is going to help a few people. I hope it does. I hope to have more, because I've had a few little issues with this truck here and there that I had to figure out on my own. So I'm hoping that I'm gonna maybe post some more. Hopefully not for my truck, but you know, hopefully I'll post more. So you know, for all you DIYers, man, like, check that harness and check that brown wire, the center wire. It's the brown one on the alternator plug. Check it. Stick something down in where the wire goes in. Press it down real good. You know, just mess with it and see what happens. See you later.